Everyone, and welcome to part 3 of our coding adventure. For this lesson, we're going to be talking about binary code and what it does and what does that mean. So stay tuned. We're going to have a little craft activity and you get a few choices on how you would like to do that activity. And you'll also learn what binary code is and what it does for computers. All right, let's talk about what that word binary means. Binary code is a way that information can be represented using only two options, like yes or no, or true or false, or on and off, or 1 and 0. A line of binary code is made up of 8 units called a byte. Now that's B-Y-T-E, not byte like a bite of your sandwich. Each unit that makes up a byte is called a bit. A bit is binary because it can only contain one of the two options like I described earlier. So an example of binary code would be like the 1-0 option. So if you were to look at this binary code, it may say 01000001. Now, that's just for the letter A. It takes that many ones and zeros just to tell a computer to make a letter A. Now, computers send and store information using binary, and that's what you see and you use when you're on a computer screen. You don't see the ones and zeros behind the screen. You only see what's on your screen, like you're looking at me right now. So binary code can represent numbers, symbols, sounds, colors, images on a computer screen. It's limitless on what it can represent. So today, we're going to focus on how we can use capital letters in binary code. So for this activity, we're going to need a binary decoder. Now don't worry, I'm going to share that with you in just a moment. If you want to print the binary decoder, I will give that as an option on Canvas. And if you are watching me on YouTube, I will have it up on the screen after I'm done explaining. So we're going to use a binary decoder to show what the code is for each capital letter. Now, I want you to think of a word. Maybe you want to use your initials just to give something short to start with. But then maybe you want to make it a little bit harder as you go. That's fine. You decide of what you want to try. So let's try a letter first. So I'm going to use H for Hannon, and I'm going to show you how we do the binary for the letter H. Now you can follow along with me, or you can just watch. So we're going to use our decoder to find the code for the capital letter H. We're going to use the on-off or the 1 and 0 method to represent each letter. That means that we're going to be coloring in some squares and leaving some squares blank. So if you need a piece of paper and something to write with, you can hit pause and go get that now, and I will meet you right back here. Here's an example for the letter A in binary code. We will be using the squares that you see in the picture to show our letters that we will be working on. So we will color in blocks that are supposed to be 0, and we will not color in blocks that are supposed to be 1. If you get confused, you can always come back to this part of the video. All right, let's practice a binary code. So we're going to use our binary decoder key, and I'm going to have a copy for this for you if you want to pull it up on your computer, or you can open it as a file. I'm going to practice with you. So if you have paper and a pencil and you want to practice a letter with me, go ahead and get that. I'm going to get my materials and then let's practice. This is the part you don't see, is when teachers have to search their desk for everything they need. All right, so I'm going to use a dry erase board, and I'm going to use it to help you practice how to do a letter in binary code. Now, I'm going to set this up by drawing my squares first, and we need 8 squares. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to show you while I'm drawing it. You know what? This marker doesn't work. Let's see if I can find one that does. Let's try this one. All right, so I have my paper, or my whiteboard in this case. And I'm going to draw 8 squares. So you can go ahead and do that on your paper if you're following along with me, or you can just watch. All right, so I have my 8 squares. Now they're not perfect, but they'll do the job. So I'm going to go back to my decoder, and I'm going to look for the letter H, because I'm going to do an H for Hannon. So let's get our decoder, and let's find the letter H. So it looks like H is right here, and H has the first square filled in, the second square is empty. So let's just go ahead and do those. All right, so the first square is filled in. The second one is empty, so I'm not going to mess with that one. All right, let's go back to our decoder. So now it has the last 2 of that part are colored in. So let's do that. So these 2 should be colored in because the second one should be blank. Okay, now so far I have 1 colored in, 1 not colored in, and 2 colored in. Now I'm going to go back and check my decoder. And do you notice something? I just noticed something. I noticed that there's kind of this space between the squares. Okay, so I'm going to fix some things. So I'm going to get rid of this one right here in the middle, and I'm just going to move it to the end. Okay, so I'm just going to get rid of that, and I'm going to add it to the end. And then I'm going to fix this one because I accidentally erased part of it. Okay, so now I have this space between. All right, let's go back to our decoder, and let's check out the last 4 for the letter H. So we have done the first 4. Now we're going to do the last 4. Now the last 4 look pretty easy. That first one's not filled in. So let's see if I can get a little closer. That one's not filled in, but the last 3 are. So let's just fill in the last 3 boxes. Okay. Now, I have done the letter H, and if you remember from our previous picture of the example of the letter A, it had a certain way of doing this. So it said that the colored in boxes represented the number 0, and then the blank boxes, or the ones we did not color, would be the number 1. So I'm going to write above it what each box represents, if it's 0 or 1. Okay, so I have 0 because it's colored in, and I'm just going to do all the colored in ones with 0. Okay, and then my empty boxes, the ones I did not color, are the number 1. All right, so if I were reading this as a computer, I would read this as 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0. Now, if they're colored in, that means they're off. If they are not colored in, that means they're on, or they're 0 or 1. Okay, so it matters the order, and it matters which one is doing what job. Remember, computers, when they are reading binary, they only understand 2 options. In this case, it's on or off. Now, think of this. If you had to write your name in binary every day, it took this much just to write the letter H, a capital H. That's not even talking about a lowercase h. That's just a capital H. So can you imagine how long it would take to write a story in binary? Can you imagine how much code it takes to run your computer when all of the stuff it has to do is like this? So that's a lot, right? And some of us have really long names, so that might even be longer if your name is really long. So if I were to write my full name, it would take up probably this whole board and then some. So I have a little challenge for you right now, and then I have a bigger challenge towards the end. I want you to practice your initials in binary. Now, my initials that I write for school, because they usually ask me, can you initial this or can you put your name on this? I write AH because my first name starts with A, my last name starts with H. So I've already done H, so I could go and just do A and have AH for my initials. And then I could see what it looks like in binary. So right now, you can practice what your initials would look like in binary. So if you want to use your middle name initial, that's fine. If you just want to do your first and last name initials, that's fine. Remember, your initial is the first letter of your name. So it'd be the first letter of your first name, the first letter of your last name, and if you want to do your middle name, it would be the first letter of your middle name. So go ahead and give that a try, and I will be back with you with a bigger challenge. And for those of you that like to get crafty, stay tuned. All right, how did your initials turn out? Did it work okay? Well, here are mine. So I have the letter A because my first name starts with A, and then I had my H. I just moved it down and made it look a little more organized when I wrote it on my board. So if you had trouble with it, it's okay, just try again. And if you did well, congratulations. Binary is not easy, so I completely understand if it took you a couple tries. I honestly had to keep checking my binary decoder to make sure I had everything right. Now, we're going to take our challenge up a notch. Now, those of you that like to be crafty, this is definitely for you. If you feel like you're not the crafty kind of person, you don't have to be that crafty, but still have some fun with it because I would love to see what you come up with. So if you are a crafty person, you would be able to do this with something like beads and string or yarn, something like that. If you are kind of crafty, then you can use pieces of paper and you could use different colors if you wanted to. I would only choose 2 so it doesn't get too confusing. And if you want to go big, then you're going to need maybe a couple pieces of paper. So go get some supplies. If you feel like doing yours with yarn and or string and some beads, go get those. If you feel like you would rather just do this on paper and you want to start small, that's fine. I would get something with color though and choose 2 colors to use. No more than 2, just 2. And if you want to go big and you're going to need a couple pieces of paper, then go ahead and get those and choose 2 colors, okay? No more than 2 because it gets really confusing after that. So we need a color that represents a 0. We need a color that represents a 1. So 2 colors. If you're doing this with beads and yarn or string, the beads, if you have more than 1 color, choose 2 colors. Okay, remember we need 1 color for 0, 1 color for 1. So go get your stuff and then you can meet me back here. Here is a picture of your binary decoder key. Now you may pause this at any time or you can let the video play and you can come back to the video decoder if you feel like you need to look at it again. Whatever works for you is fine. Now, if you are wanting to do your initials, you could put this on a paper bracelet. Just cut a strip of paper and then put the boxes that you would need to make your initials, and then use a decoder to put the right pattern of binary code for your initials. Now, if you're wanting to make something like a poster, you could put lots of pieces of paper together to create a message of some kind, and then you might want to write down your message or what you want to say first, and then go back and add your boxes later. A pencil may be your best friend if you're using paper today. Now, those of you that are wanting to do something with string or yarn and beads, you could make something with those, and I'm going to show you a picture that's going to help you with that in just a moment. Now, if you are using the string or yarn and beads option, you could make a bracelet, or maybe you want to make something larger like a necklace. Whatever it is you would like to do with those things is great. So send me a picture when you're ready, and I look forward to seeing what you create. Here's an example of a bracelet with the initials GWC. So what you can see that they did is that they used 1 color to represent 0s, and they used another color to represent 1s. And they used the colors red and yellow. And then they show you in the picture the sections that represent each letter. So the first 8 are for the letter G. Then there's a spacer bead. So that's a good idea to separate the 2 letters. And then the next letter is a W, and they have the pattern for it. Another spacer bead to show you that there is a separate letter. And then the last letter is the letter C. So I look forward to seeing your creations. I can't wait to see what you do with your binary code.